Man, no slate this time. Okay. Hello, everybody. The wonders of modern technology and using our brains, folks. Sometimes we forget that the simple answer is often the right answer, and to not overlook the obvious. And so, yeah, we are utilizing the same interface. That doesn't mean anything to you, but it does to us. So,
Yeah.
we're going to enjoy this. Hello and welcome. I don't know when we're going to be getting you this episode. But whether it'll be like a break in the Tarkovsky Tuesday series to hold you over because Mason's leaving. I mean, he's getting his stuff moved out tomorrow, and then he's out of here in a week. So
by the time you hear this, I will maybe have already been in LA.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna go ahead and record it.
Yeah. So you'll get it eventually. But I would say that this is a big episode. It's our first Bergman. 28. It only took us 28 episodes to get there, but we've arrived.
This is our.
Yes.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I guess
we haven't done one. No.
You've heard. I mean, we've talked about him a lot in other episodes.
Talked about him in the mailbag. He wasn't
definitely
in the
talked
draft.
about him in Birth a little bit. Every Tarkovsky episode, I feel like Bergman comes up.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But now he gets his own.
Sure.
Definitely deserves it.
As he deserves.
Yeah, I'm a big Bergman guy.
Is he the GOAT?
I don't know.
Not that there has to be a GOAT or that it matters, but I think it's fun to
I think his and Tarkovsky's styles are so different.
discuss. Sure, yeah.
That it's almost like apples and oranges.
There's
it's really
a
true on
little
taste.
crossover at times.
Yeah, sure.
But the way they go about trying to develop stories and stuff is
and
very
especially
different.
the personal beliefs and stuff, very different, you know?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I don't know, we can get into that.
Yeah. But, man, I just love all of Bergman's work. I'm such a Bergman tot dude.
Yeah,
I love his stuff.
We literally just finished the last part of Fanny and Alexander. We watched the TV version, which is
The 5-hour version.
a little
Granted,
bit over 5
we didn't do it
hours.
in one
Heck,
sitting.
no.
No. We
But
did it over the course of about a
We just watched
week.
the last
Yeah.
part, which is about
Hour 27.
hour and a half. Immediate thoughts.
I
I mean, there's no way you're gonna be like, yeah, it didn't stick the landing, right?
I didn't realize how much of a reach it had. Like, I didn't realize that Polar Express was pulling from something else. That's my first takeaway. That whole sequence, you know, it really leaned into the supernatural in this one. It was interesting.
Sure, yeah.
It absolutely sticks the landing.
Okay. Thought you were gonna be like,
the stuff at what's Erland's character's name?
Isaac.
Isaac or Isaac. Yeah.
Isaac.
I'll just say Isaac.
Uncle Isaac.
Yeah, Uncle Isaac's house. It was kind of weird.
Sure.
I don't know what to make of it entirely.
The Ishmael character.
Yeah, there was some strange stuff.
Odd.
Yeah, and even like I don't know. Yeah, I couldn't stop thinking about Polar Express during the puppet stuff because that's I mean, but Bergman did it first and better. So, but yeah, overall thoughts on that episode. It was fantastic.
Yeah, sure.
They really turn Edvard into a monster. Like, he's like a villain. And that well, it's not really a monologue, just the scene where they're sitting in his front room with the two brothers there and they're talking to him. They're like negotiating basically about like
they're very elegantly having a
this-
very firm argument.
it goes from elegant and then it gets a little bit
Well,
then it gets a
it
little
does
nasty.
from Gustav.
Yeah. Well, no, but Edvard pulls up the stops too because he basically like coerces Emily into saying, "Hey, I'm fine."
That's true.
Yeah.
He always has the final card. He like never loses.
Mm-hmm.
But he does.
It's like Logan Roy.
But he does lose at the
Yeah.
end. Spoilers.
But yeah,
thoughts on the whole. It's I call this a movie. I have this ranked as a film. A little bit unfair to other films because this has so much more time and things to do. But is it one of the greats?
For sure, yeah.
Sorry.
I mean, for the listeners, I want to provide a bit of background, and you can hop in wherever because you've seen this multiple times. The film is titled Fanny and Alexander, but I guess there's really only 2 chapters out of the 4 that focus on them. Really, it could be titled more aptly "The Ekdahl Family" or something about because it really
at least name it Alexander and Fanny.
Yeah, I mean, well, that doesn't. But I think the more important thing is that it's less. I mean, Alexander's journey and him as a character and probably a self-insert for Bergman to some extent.
I think he is the core.
Yeah, he is the core.
But he's certainly not.
But
everything.
This is about the family, and it's about the family dynamic, and it's about they love really hard, and people fight, and there's certainly ups and downs with the Ekdahl family, but they really care about each other and they go to bat for each other.
It makes you think of Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it's all about it's family,
baby. It's family.
You see the cover and you just think of Vin Diesel. I mean,
Dom Toretto is all over this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking The Rock would play Edvard in the remake, but I don't know if that's a miscast.
Very towering.
Yeah, he's pretty brooding. He could pull it off. But yeah, the first sequence takes place during Christmas, and it's beautiful. It's magical. Magical is the right word. It's such a fun watch, and everything is just great.
It's almost just you almost get spiritual and emotional watching them have a good time.
Yeah, it really is like watching a great Christmas movie. It's just so feel good.
It's just
and Bergman really sets you up.
This is what family's all about, man. And he gives time to each character, and it goes around the table, and
you really learn about the family. The first episode is really an introduction to the family dynamic, to the brothers especially.
It's an hour and a half
Emily.
of just backstory.
Yeah,
and exposition.
What's the dad's name?
Oh, Carl. No, it's not Carl. I've
I'm
got the
about to look
IMDb
this
up. I got the IMDb up.
Okay.
Don't worry, I got it. Oscar.
Yeah. Oscar gets a lot of screen time too in the first episode.
He's got that great scene with the kids at night in the chair.
Fantastic monologue. Yeah, with the chair. And you just see how much he's loved by everybody and how he's well respected. And the grandma's awesome. It's fantastic world building and character development.
Told you, man. If you ever want to feel good, just you miss your family or you need some kind of emotional connection, just throw the first part on. Don't worry about the rest.
Yeah. In the span of an hour and a half, Bergman's able to develop some of the most fleshed out characters, and not just one, but he's able to develop an entire family.
It's really about the connection and branches between all of them and stuff.
Yeah,
really.
The fellowship of the Ekdahl family.
Yeah. Don't bring Lord of the Rings into this.
Okay, yeah, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Bergman just does a lovely job of setting up the story. And it's cool too, he embeds theater into the world, both I guess materially, because the Ekdahl family, Oscar owns the theater, and he runs it with Emily, and he's really the heart of the theater as well.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, definitely. Actually,
yeah, and that's actually where I think that's where it opens, right? That's the first scene is them.
Yes.
Theater. Yeah. So but that's just Bergman. You can tell in his writing he's a theater guy. So.
Than his heritage.
Yeah, it's kind of autobiographical in a sense, I think.
The film?
Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, he kind of refuted that it was extremely autobiographical.
But I'm sure it's loosely,
Very. I mean, come on. Anyone that knows his backstory knows that this is pretty autobiographical. Not to say that he's a shoe-in for Alexander and he had the life that Alexander had exactly, but we can get into this later too. But he also went on record saying that Bergman said he could see a little bit of himself in every male character.
Interesting.
This is that's
fascinating.
Yeah. And a lot of people have tied kind of connections between Edvard and Bergman.
Interesting.
Which is,
ooh,
that's not what you would think immediately, but if you start to think about it, I can see it a little bit. So,
I had something I wanted to say about the first episode, and it slipped from my train of thought. So, if I remember it, I'll pick it up.
Come back. Don't
okay. I think it was something thematic, or I don't know. Either way,
it's about all the candles and.
Oh yeah, that is cool. The set pieces alone are, pretty amazing. I can't imagine the prep work of getting like that. The house looks so lived in.
Very, pretty big fire hazard, I would say.
Yes, definitely.
It's like 300 candles.
Yeah,
they're just everywhere.
But yeah, the first sort of bump in the road is a pretty big one towards the end. Well, sorry.
Wait, no, you're good.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I was ready to get there, but this just popped in my mind. I don't know if this is what you were thinking, but I think it's important to establish that we see some things through the eyes of Alexander, and you can just tell he has a really big imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that, he's sitting on the table at the very beginning, and we see the statue move, and then you just see the Grim Reaper.
Yeah,
Just walk through, and that really when you've seen the whole film, it's that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's just kind of this impending doom that there's a figure around that is going to cause havoc, which leads us into the second.
So at the tail end of the first episode, Oscar gets sick, right?
Yeah.
No, he collapses. He has a stroke or something.
No, he doesn't have the stroke. You mean at the theater?
Yeah,
that's in the second part.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
What's the end of the first one?
They're just riding outside. I think they're going to church or the theater or something. I don't know. It just
so
ends.
The first one's entirely happy.
Yeah, well, you can see there's when you watch it back. I mean, this is my third time watching it. You can tell that Oscar's not really okay. He sometimes he's playing with the children and he's got to kind of sit down for a second, catch his breath and stuff.
Gotcha.
He's not totally healthy.
So yeah, you can tell. Okay, gotcha.
But yeah, then in the second they're rehearsing the what is Hamlet?
Yeah.
Which is
that's
very
what I was going to say. Yeah.
That's very.
That was my thought. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, a big I don't know, sort of companion.
And Bergman talked about this. I did not know this until I just
a big companion work that almost follows the narrative of Fanny and Alexander as Hamlet. And even though it's sort of loosely autobiographical, it's sort of infused with a Shakespearean spin.
Yeah.
And
if I were to equate a director with Shakespeare, it'd probably be Bergman.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah.
Narratively.
Yeah.
At least. Mm-hmm. So, makes sense.
Yeah, he likes a good soliloquy, man. He likes a good monologue.
Yeah. It makes sense that he would like Hamlet and he would like Shakespeare and that he would want to loosely do an adaptation of Hamlet.
Because it is almost effectively Hamlet. It's not, there's a lot of
Yeah. It's not, but it kind of is.
The skeleton of the story is Hamlet-like.
Sure, yep, definitely. Or you could say Lion King-like.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's pretty happy-go-lucky in the first episode. Episode 2, I don't remember how it starts, so I'll need your help on that.
No, we can pull it up real quick.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I think Yeah, they're just rehearsing Hamlet.
Oh,
and then he collapses.
And this is so
it's straight away.
He has a stroke in the second one. Yeah, so right away you feel a tonal shift.
Yep. He has a stroke and
they're playing Hamlet. It's interesting because this is some excellent foreshadowing. The scene where Hamlet is hearing from his dead father is the scene where Oscar has a stroke, and it's we'll talk about this later, but Alexander, with his large imagination, sees a lot of things. We're not sure as a viewer what's real and what's not real. And so it turns out that Oscar's stroke was basically fatal. Yeah, he didn't
not
recover.
basically.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he doesn't die immediately, but
I guess that's true. But
he quickly declines and then he passes.
Yes.
And that whole scene is just devastating. It's amazing, but
and Alexander just can't go up there.
Yeah. Also Succession.
Yeah, spoilers.
Yeah, but Succession
but
is
they don't
very
really know if
Shakespearean,
you know? Yeah, well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Man, I almost forget some of the stuff because it's been so long.
And it hasn't been that. It's been like a week.
Yeah, but still.
Yeah, and Oscar tells Emily, his wife, to take care of the kids and take care of the theater.
Yeah,
you should run the theater now, and he says his goodbyes and he passes, and then
they have the funeral.
We start seeing some new characters at play. One in particular,
the priest, who you think's kind of not a throwaway, but just there to officiate the service.
I will say, I don't know if you because this is your first time, but he is in the very opening, in the very first shot, he's in the audience at the play, and it lingers on him for a few seconds.
Interesting.
And it's
of course,
yeah,
it's
kind of cool watching it back.
That's genius.
It's like haha.
Yeah, it's a little wink from Bergman.
Yeah, definitely.
Remember this guy?
I love this. They wake up at night and Emily's just screaming.
Dude, that was quite disturbing.
After the death.
Yeah.
And this shot.
Oh, and the blocking. Where you
in between the slits of the doors. Oh.
You see the casket open, and in between, just a crack between the two doors, you see his head.
Face. Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty brutal.
And they're devastated. Okay.
Hey, shout out to these child actors, man.
They
put in work.
No way, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. But yeah, Oscar. I mean, we've seen from the first 2 hours of the story, he is a great person.
People love him,
and he's loving and he's supportive.
He was definitely the most positive male figure in the family,
by far.
Yeah, because
the uncle is, or not the uncle, but the Isaac.
Yeah, cool, they both have their.
But yeah, Gustav and Carl or.
Who's Isaac? Oh yeah, Isaac's cool.
Isaac's
cool.
Erland.
Isaac,
yeah.
But Gustav and Carl, I mean,
Yeah.
they have their strengths, but they're certainly not what I would call a positive role model. They're pretty volatile.
I would say definitely Carl is pretty.
Carl is legitimately
extremely demeaning towards his wife.
Abusive to his wife,
yes. Physically,
and
which is obviously not okay.
No. He's pretty terrible. However, he's pretty diplomatic. That doesn't at all excuse him, but in the fourth episode, he's pretty.
He's laying it out.
I wish he could be. I wish he could be more like that around his wife, because she doesn't deserve that, and the fact that he can.
He's like, quit being so nice.
Yeah. But the fact that he can be so cordial with Edvard is disappointing. Yeah, but Gustav, he's a sweet man. He's a big lover of life, but
a big lover.
He's a big lover too,
Period.
I guess. Yeah.
A big lover. We forgot to talk about that in the first episode.
There are several instances of Gustav being a big lover.
He is. There's a funny scene where he is making love to
a mistress,
a maid, that works at the house.
He's married,
and he's struggling.
Yeah,
and
I don't think we need to go into it any further. I think they can go watch it themselves or look it up on YouTube.
You can't let me stop there. That sounds awful. All right, we'll move on. It's really funny though. It's a moment where it's like Bergman's kind of being coy. Like it's
hilarious.
It's
very funny. Yeah. It's so over the top.
So yeah, we get introduced to Edvard. He kind of officiates the funeral, I guess. The funeral's just at their house.
Yeah.
And I can't really remember what happened.
Yeah, so we're like, oh, this is Edvard. Cool.
Oh,
like, he'll be gone soon.
This is funny.
Oh, fantastic scene.
Alexander is such an interesting character.
He is. He really is.
And I'll say this for later, but he's not very happy. He starts just saying curse words.
All of them. While they're carrying the casket, they're walking to Barry's casket, and then I didn't realize that Edvard was sitting next to Emily, like at the dinner. He's such a scumbag, man.
So Edvard and Emily start to
they spark it up,
hang out, and get to know each other.
Edvard is a priest. He's a very rigid, godly man. At least that's what he.
Also, this is very important. I don't know if you remember this, but look at this. Fanny walks out. And she's like, Alexander, you have to come here. Wake up. And they see Oscar.
They both see him?
That's important. Fanny sees him first.
Yeah, so some ghostesses.
A little odd. Because you think, most of the movie, you think Alexander sees dead people because he has a very wild imagination and he can't get them out of their mind. But Fanny sees Oscar too.
It's very interesting. I didn't remember that.
Like he's living, he's living through them still.
And I mean, Oscar always appears in white, in a white suit.
And Edvard's almost always wearing black.
Yeah.
Take that as you will. So yeah, then like basically the theater.
We just see the theater decline. Nobody goes to the shows anymore. And then Edvard's like, well, everyone's like, I'm getting married to Edvard, because
boom, bombshell. Well, first he talks to Alexander
about talk about that scene,
lying at school, and
Emily has him come into like the dining room, or no, like the
just like
a room, one of the 700 rooms in the house,
living room. I don't know.
And she's like, tell him. I think it's because he's a priest that she's trying to make him apologize, because he's like a religious figure and not.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not like there's not really the paternal aspect yet, because you don't know they're getting married. But then you find out later, and you're like, oh.
And this is all about truth and lies, which will come back up later.
There's so much, like, the power dynamics between Edvard and Alexander are really interesting, especially like with the blocking and
how they're framed. Who has the height and
height, and especially like physically hand placement.
I was gonna say he's
always touching Alexander.
He's pestering him, and he's physical. Sometimes he will
he'll hurt him. Yeah,
he will harm him.
Yeah,
he will grab his shoulders very stern.
From the beginning, I mean, he doesn't make a good first impression.
And this is important to say. Now's probably a good time. Bergman's father was a stern pastor. He was a preacher, and this is very autobiographical. And this was Bergman said this was his last film. This was always supposed to be his last film, and it ended up not being, of course, but I think this is the perfect subject for a last film. And it's really Bergman just trying to, it's his therapy.
Yeah.
He's
that's a good way to put it.
Really trying to get this out of him, and I'm sure that he can see himself a lot in Alexander.
It makes a lot of sense, because it's him telling his own story, like you said, sort of therapeutic. I could imagine it's cathartic to get all those frustrations out in a medium that he's used to, and he gets to, also marry it with Shakespeare, who's like kind of a god in the medium that he was really fluent in,
Yep.
So, it makes perfect sense.
To me, it's his magnum opus. We can get into some of the superlatives later, but this is his best film for me easily. And he has a ton of good films.
Yeah, he does.
This just does, like, Persona, Autumn Sonata, Winter Light. This is longer. It just offers more.
Yeah.
And it's more, I can take more stakes in the characters. It's a little bit more developed, of course. It has a lot more time. But because let's not forget, most Bergman films are about 90 minutes.
They're pretty short. That's why I love some Bergman, man.
Yeah, he's not Tarkovsky.
He's not long-winded.
He is not Bellatar.
He knows when to cut.
But yeah, so then after that, they basically are like, yeah, we're going to get married and we're going to move in with him. And Edvard's like, you can't have anything. You're going to...
Oh, yeah, and Edvard's like, he basically commandeers their family. He's like, yeah, you are mine.
We see the...
and he's like...
We see the aunt from Suspiria.
Yeah. He's like, I have one request of you to Emily. He's like, you're going to move in my house. And this is non-negotiable. And you're like, okay? First of all, I mean, he's not
he's already like
he's a very nice house, but it is like,
yeah,
it's a beautiful house.
He has a nice house, but it's
empty. It's not very like it's
like
super minimalistic and dry and
I'm trying to think of the right.
It's kind of, it's monastic. Like it looks like
sure. It's like
it's what you'd expect from a priest,
very religious like.
But the thing about Edvard is that like. The guise of his like holiness or
see that we can get into that.
Yeah.
Is he
actually
religious?
He
is religious. Of course, but
he does love Edvard will happily take the moral high ground in almost any situation. Yeah, and he does.
Yeah.
He will let characters know.
I don't think that he's not a Christian or not religious.
I don't think. Yeah, I think he is. I think.
But
you can still be Christian and be a terrible person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Of course. But there are times. We get that part at the end where he's like, "My mask is burnt into my flesh."
Mm-hmm. Where
he can't take it off.
That scene where he's talking to Emily, she's like. Where he says that you're always changing masks. You have so many masks that you wear as an actor. He's like, I have one mask, and it's burned into my flesh. Yeah. That's crazy.
He is very. And
I think the mask. I'll just say it. I think his mask is like, the outward appearance of like priesthood and goodness. He's a very cruel person. But like
does he know that though? I think at times
I don't think he'd admit it.
I think at times he's like, maybe this is a little harsh, but it's for the good. That's always what he says. I think at his lowest,
he's a man with very low self-esteem.
You say your God is the God of love. It sounds so beautiful. Emily, she's saying that she wishes she could believe. Mm-hmm. Emily is not really religious.
No.
And
they live a very happy life.
Yeah, sure.
Religion doesn't actually play much of a factor into the Ekdahl family at all.
No, but I will say, I think
they
that
do
Oscar,
read the Christmas Story, though.
Yeah, and I think that Oscar was religious.
Probably so. Yeah, to some extent.
Not devout Christian.
Yeah, but definitely spiritual to some. Yeah. Someone's car alarm, or someone's just repeatedly honking.
It's
car alarm. It's a little slow. The cadence is kind of slow. But yeah.
But it's interesting Edvard that he's marrying someone who's not religious.
Yeah,
he's like I said when we watched this. Mm-hmm. Typically from a Christian.
Oh, and he was serenading her with his flute. I forgot about that scene. He's a cornball, man. But yeah, he is very abusive, and you're not supposed to like him. He's pretty evil. But he manipulates like his spirituality and his devoutness.
I think
and
Bergman.
He's like, this is like God's telling me to lock you in this attic.
I think Bergman hated his father, and I think he always lived with that, as we can see from the very end.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the best shots and one of the best sequences ever.
Yeah.
We'll get it. Well, I'll save that. But
yeah,
that's just like, it's just incredible. And
let's talk about some of the sequences at Uncle Edvard's house. Hey, Hamlet. It's well, I mean, the listeners, they can keep up. But basically, in Hamlet, right, the father dies, and then
are we forgetting anything?
The uncle sort of assumes the role as the new father and marries the mother. Now that there is like the whole like incest thing that people. I'm gonna skip past that. That doesn't apply. However, what remains consistent is the drastic change in lifestyle and quality of life that occurs when the new like uncle figure takes the helm. Like stuff goes south fast. And especially the young kids are like, "Oh, this is terrible."
Yeah.
Now in Hamlet, the mom's like, she loves the uncle. I think. I think they're in love. But Emily's not having it, dude. None of them are.
Well, eventually she's not.
Yeah. At the beginning, she tries to.
It doesn't. I mean, I think in between episode 2 and 3, it's like a year later.
Yeah.
Well, there's a bunch of time passes, but.
And the seasons change. That's important.
Yeah. At the beginning of episode 3, we see Emily go to the grandmother, and she's like, I'm not happy.
Well, we should talk about some of the things that take place at Edvard's house first. So,
well, that's after.
Oh, really?
Well, that's during. Are you talking about like the attic and stuff?
Yeah,
because that's while she's talking to him. Because she leaves, and then Edvard's like,
he's like, oh, now that she's gone,
I have
free reign
to do this,
to beat the children.
But yeah, she's like, he's not gonna let me get a divorce, and then she drops a bomb that she's pregnant.
That's like, the big one.
It's like, no. And she's like, the kids aren't happy. She realizes that she's made a really big mistake.
Alexander and Edvard are always going at it, man. They do not.
And while she's gone, Alexander and Fanny talk to one of the maids, and
Alexander tells
the maid makes up a story. And then she blames it on Alexander.
No, I thought Alexander said that he saw a ghost, or...
Well, yeah, but
doesn't he tell her?
The maid starts off by saying, "Do you all know what happened to the last family that was here?"
And then Alexander answers yes.
And then Alexander's like, "Yeah, I saw a ghost, and I know what you're saying.
They told me what happened." Yeah.
And the allegations are pretty big.
Yeah.
They're saying that Edvard's last wife and kids, that he basically killed them.
Yeah. And then there's like a revised. Well, no, that's in the attic that
gets a little weird. So yeah, basically Edvard
allows. Well, he first asks Alexander, "Hey, did you say this?" And now he's
like, "Put your hand on the Bible."
Yeah. He's like, "This is an oath." He's like, "You're liable under perjury."
Yeah. Sure.
And Alexander swears, and then he says, "No, I didn't say that."
And then he says he did.
They basically they reach a point to where they will not see eye to eye, and Edvard breaks out the switch, and he gives him 10 good ones, and it's pretty hard to watch, dude. It's.
I mean, he breaks his skin, he starts bleeding. Alexander's crying. Yeah. Fanny's just standing there watching it. Yeah. Fanny's such a goody two shoes.
No, shout out Fanny, man. Because
Fanny's an OG, I love her.
No, yeah, Fanny's the best character in this series.
What about Jenny and Pute?
They're fine. Because Edward's like, "Fanny, did Alexander do that?" She's like, "No."
Yeah,
dude,
I like that.
Fanny's a day one. We love Fanny.
Fanny.
Fanny's like a true friend, and she.
Fanny is Kyrie playing with LeBron on the 16 Cavs.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, she is.
Well, I mean, but Kyrie left
Robin.
To go
Well, if Kyrie never left, I guess.
Who left first, LeBron or Kyrie? I think it was LeBron left first. Or no, I can't.
I don't know.
I think Kyrie went to the.
But
Celtics
if they
first.
both stayed there and they were loyal, she is the perfect. Kind of.
Fanny's the
sidekick.
embodiment of loyalty. She's the Samwise Gamgee.
Robin.
I like Samwise Gamgee. That works better.
I hate Lord of the Rings. We don't have to get into that now.
Yeah, that's a terrible take. Okay. But yeah.
But then he's like, after the switch.
He's like, I'm doing this because I love you.
Yeah, and then he's like, go in the attic. He's like, you're going to stay in the attic and think about your mistakes.
Yeah.
And learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to the attic, and, you know, it's the incredible shot where he's lying down, and there's a cross leaned over in the background.
Yeah. Oh, it's juxtaposed. Well, so they're not lying parallel. They're lying kind of opposite to each other. So, like... Yeah. I don't know. You'll have to look up a still of it, but it's pretty brilliant.
I didn't pull it up.
Well, I'm trying to, you know, help the listener visualize.
Yeah, sure.
But it's a phenomenal shot.
I mean, you can post it on Instagram.
Yeah. Nobody's going to watch it anyway, so it doesn't matter. Might as well not post it. But yeah, some spooky stuff happens in the attic.
Yeah,
the
crazy.
The alleged ghosts of Edvard's children come to Alexander. They're like, "Hey, that's not how I died."
Yeah,
which is pretty strange.
And then one of them pukes on him, and it's like this green goo stuff.
Yeah.
And then Emily comes back, and she's like, "Give me the key, let me in the attic."
Yeah.
Like I'm not going
to the maid, not to Alexander.
Yeah, sure.
And then she gets up in the attic, and she sees that
the atrocity that has
occurred.
Yeah,
Edward beat her kid, and then she's like, "It's time to go."
And it was already over. That
I think there's a healthy bit of Hansel and Gretel.
Yeah, there's no too. After this. There's no turning back.
Yeah,
she's done. She doesn't want the kids anywhere near him.
Yeah. So where does that put us?
Well, that puts us where the uncles and stuff go to the grandmother, and they're like, we need to figure out a way to like get them out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Which just solidifies like, oh yeah, we should talk about that.
Well, I mean, they
crazy
just cannot resolve their differences.
I think Edvard so badly needs Alexander's affirmation.
Yep. Which is weird.
Yeah, it is a little strange, but Alexander despises him. And I mean, rightly so, you know. Edvard's pretty evil.
And then Emily and Edvard talk about it, and she's like, you can't do that. And then he goes up to her, and he's like, I'm like the man of this house. You're not going to tell me what to do. And he's like,
punishment out of love can never be humiliating. That's what he says.
He's gaslighting them. That's what he's doing.
He literally gaslights, and he weaponizes like biblical speak and like the Bible to justify his abuse,
which is what people do.
Yes, yeah. Oh no, yeah, that's very common.
And it's sad, and I've never seen it be put in a way like this.
No wonder Bergman was turned away from religion.
Well,
dude.
that's
we
can talk about that.
Yeah,
I want to talk about that at the very end.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah,
but
I mean, can you blame him at all? No.
No.
Because this is awful. I forget. Yeah, so that third episode, and it's that's a Succession shot right there with the hand on the shoulders and like the. No, I mean like the powerful figure Logan with his hands on his
little Kendall,
his kid's shoulders or someone's shoulders. You know, it's just that's the complete. I feel like that's such a quintessential.
It's very
sort of image of authority. You know?
It's very Hitchcock. Hitchcock kind of. I mean, he's one of the greats because there's the
and then we get this great sequence.
There's the whole sequence in Vertigo and stuff in Hitchcock where
we haven't done a Hitchcock yet.
The dominance of power is displayed just through framing and blocking, and it's amazing. We don't need any dialogue for that. We know because visually we can interpret that this character is more powerful. But so Isaac shows up and
he's scheming.
He basically gets the kids out. We get this very confusing sequence where you're like, oh, the kids are in the chest. Mm-hmm. But then they're not, but then they are.
Yeah, so he's like distracting Edvard so he can sneak. Well, first of all, he has the keys somehow.
Don't ask me.
He's the key man. He has the keys. So he gets into the...
He got a key to the city.
Yeah, he's got the key to Disney World, so he gets...
LeBron in
He's
Cleveland.
there to buy a chest. And so that's his cover story. He's there to steal back... Well, not steal back. He's there to rescue the kids. Yeah, the MacGuffin. is that he's buying a chest that he was previously interested in but never really followed up on. And so he offers Edvard a ton of money. Now, granted, Edvard talks about this with Gustav and Karl later, that he can't be swayed by money. He absolutely can. This man loves money.
And I don't know if it's put before this. I mean, I know it's put after. He is in big debt, dude.
He's in big debt, and money can absolutely persuade him.
Which again, institutions, religious institutions,
corrupts people, man.
I mean, I hate to say that because it shouldn't be like that, but it is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just how it is.
So then he buys this chest from Edvard. He hides Fanny and Alexander in it while I guess Edvard's signing the deed or something.
Yeah, and then Edvard comes in and he's like, I know what you have done. And he throws him to the ground and he runs upstairs and looks to see if the kids are there. And
we get something really strange. Yeah.
We get a close-up of Isaac
super over the top
screaming.
Yeah.
And then it just goes all white. And then Edvard's upstairs and the kids are there with Emily. But I don't know if those are stuffed kids as a decoy or what, because we never see. Well, no, those aren't stuffed.
No, I think this is a vision because he sort of collapses.
Yeah, that does make sense. But it's still it's odd how he's.
It is certainly strange.
It's odd how he edits it, I guess, which
we'll
is
talk
intentional.
About I want to talk about it once we get there, the editing sort of towards the last couple scenes. It's fantastic.
But basically, the kids do escape and they go to Isaac's house, which takes us to the Polar Express stuff.
Well, first, no, not yet, because we have a wonderful monologue. The atmosphere is very Polar Express, though. Once you get to Uncle Isaac's house, it's immediately
and he's a magician, and
there are marionettes everywhere, lots of puppets, some great imagery about the man behind the curtain, Wizard of Oz illusion, if you will, and sort of the farce of institutions, and I mean, God is portrayed as a marionette, as a puppet, and a man's controlling him. The cousin,
Aaron,
is controlling. He's puppeting him. I don't know, man.
Edvard, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. he's like a Edvard is almost controlling God and using him to kind of dominate people and stuff.
Absolutely,
definitely that makes sense. But we get this
one of the best monologues of all time.
One
of the best monologues ever.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Man, if you want a good monologue, watch some Bergman.
Why don't you explain it to the audience? Because it's kind of a lot.
Okay. All right, deep breath. So, Isaac sits Fanny and Alexander down. They're about to go to sleep. The lighting in this room is also awesome. The color palette in this particular bedroom.
Very red. So it kind of takes us back to the beginning.
It's pretty astounding. The color theory in this film is crazy. But so they're in this really nicely lit room. They're about to go to sleep, and Isaac is reading them what is it? How does he explain it? He said it's a book full of wisdom, wishes, or I hope you don't. Yeah, I'd rather just get the quote verbatim because it's pretty interesting. Yeah, so it's a Hebrew book. I think you.
Okay. I wanted to make.
Stories. He says it's a book of stories, thoughts, words of wisdom, and prayers. So he just reads an excerpt from it.
Parables and stuff.
It is pretty much a parable.
Going back to the sacrifice, and Erland Josephson is in that.
No, but it depicts a band of travelers in this barren land, and that the heat is unbearable, and there's no source of water, no place to take shade, and they've been traveling for a very long time, to the point where they forget their destination.
Yep,
and they forget where they came from as well.
So it sounds like a biblical story almost.
Yes,
like parable.
And the conditions are so tough on this one person that they are blinded and deafened. And by chance, this blind person stumbles like onto a river. He never comes in contact with it, but he ends up right by this riverbed.
Mm-hmm.
And water is exactly the one thing that he needs. And this place is near shade, so it's habitable. And basically the point is, this is where they should stop. But since he can't see or hear anything, he keeps walking because he's like, oh, we'll find the destination later. So they keep going on. And eventually they find another band of travelers, and they're like, hey, I heard about this place that has like water and trees and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the traveler's like, whoa, I need to go find that. I don't know what happens after that.
I threw that to you because I don't really remember this. It reminds me of the Israelites.
Yeah, he
a
talks.
Little bit,
for
in
sure.
the wilderness.
He talks about.
Look at this.
He talks about what the street or the river represents.
What kind of?
Oh yeah, every man carries with him
hopes.
Yeah, hopes, dreams, fears, and longings.
Hopes, fears, and longings.
Yeah. And
this is verbatim.
He's basically like, they go up into the cloud and they get rained down.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, just their cries.
Is that right?
To the void.
Oh yeah. That's an interesting line. He's like
and condense into an immeasurable cloud.
He's like, some people address their cries to
God,
to a certain God. He says a certain God.
Yeah, and some of them address them to the void.
Yeah, cry into the void, which is crazy.
And then all the tears form into a cloud.
Like the human experience forms into a cloud and rains down, and then that flows down, and basically from the mountain and turns into a stream.
Yeah,
which people drink from.
And he says most people anxiously remain on the dusty road in the blazing light
and never drink from the stream.
Yeah,
because they're looking for a destination that they don't even know about. And then he talks about enjoying the little. Oh wait, no, the little joys is later.
What?
Oh yeah, what unknown?
In all probability, the destination does not exist. It's deception or imagination. We get imagination stuff.
I mean, he may well be talking about heaven.
Yeah. Okay. See that? Yes. I think I have had that thought before because I think the second time I watched it, I was thinking of heaven, and from Bergman's point of view.
Yeah, but if people spend their entire life trying to find it, I mean, I guess that's. That they're like wandering and trying to.
Bergman would be saying that they're wasting their time almost.
Yes, or that the goodness of life is right here.
And the destination you'll never.
Because he talks
about
talks about the little joys later, and that life is beautiful. So I think you could argue that. But
then we get
some really interesting like intercuts between it poses Alexander and his family as the characters in this parable, and it cuts between that. It's interesting.
Yep. Also, you remember the maid that she keeps scratching her hand and it's cut.
Oh yeah.
In the third episode,
that's the maid that also rats out on Alexander.
Yeah, and look,
her hands are bleeding.
Her hands. It's almost like the cross.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what you would think. And then we see like some. Heathens, I guess, I
don't know,
like some
I don't know
undressed people dancing, and we see like a Joker and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of reminds me of Rublev and stuff at the beginning. Also, Rublev, they go to the cult and like they're naked and stuff, and they're kind of doing
culture. And then we see Emily drinking from this bowl of water, which we can assume
is water.
We can assume it's it's cognac. No. Fun drinking game. Take a shot every time the grandma says cognac. It's a lot.
You're going to be down by the second episode.
She's like, cognac?
Even at the very end, she's like, we need to talk. It's like, you want some cognac? Okay. It's like, bro.
Bergman likes cognac.
Fanny what are they drinking?
Fanny and cognac.
What are they drinking?
It's from the river. It's definitely from the river.
Yeah, sure. And there's just like, it's like the Donda listening party where they're all walking.
What? Dude, I forgot about that. That's that's a crazy pull.
And everyone is just like has the lighters and stuff.
That Donda, that like whole release cycle, I forgot about that. That's been so long. It's been 3 years.
But yeah, I mean that's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, no, that's like good. That's a good comparison.
Kind of cultish.
Yeah.
A little odd.
Yeah. But maybe those are the people that I don't know. I mean, who's supposed to be? And then we get this awesome sequence,
which we've already kind of talked about.
This face down.
Yeah.
Between
Edvard and the two brothers.
Yeah.
Two uncles of Alexander, I should say, I guess.
Yeah.
And
it starts off very diplomatic and cordial. And
they all kind of lose their cool.
Yeah.
Other than maybe Carl.
Yeah,
Carl's pretty...
Yeah. Again, unfortunate that he can't be that civilized with his wife. But yeah, Carl's a gentleman when it comes to Edward. But yeah, strange.
They're like, I'm going to one-up you with this card.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in debt. Oh, I'm going to one-up you with this card. I have the law on my side. And
it's like that one Key and Peele sketch where they have the hats.
No,
or I think it's
I don't know if I've seen this.
Keegan-Michael Key that comes out with like a hat with the sticker on the brim, and then Jordan Peele. Oh, first of all,
Jordan Peele.
He compliments Keegan-Michael Key on his hat.
Does he like next day sticker?
The next day he comes out with a brand new hat with a price tag hanging down. And so you get the bit, and it's sort of
they're one up.
It gets more grand and
does it turn like derby hats and stuff?
Yeah, no, it gets crazy.
That's funny.
To where like Keegan-Michael Key's wearing a hat where it has like a lid, and it's like basically the casing where the hat would rest in like a store on his head. Yeah, it's crazy,
funny.
Man. Yeah,
that's funny.
But yeah, they're just trying to one up each other, and so
it's
they keep
on
pulling
really long
cards.
Scene.
Gustav, it's a great monologue, but Gustav pulls the card of like, hey man, you're in some deep debt. And,
he's like, we got the papers, bro.
Yeah, I've got a paper trail to prove it, and I'm gonna declare you bankrupt if you do not let my sister go.
And then he's like, bring out Emily.
Yeah, I don't know. That reminds me of something. I can't remember what it was. But essentially, I mean, Emily, the actor Emily, the person Emily, but that's her profession. She's an actor, and they have that conversation later where she wears many faces.
Yes, of course.
She delivers a fairly convincing performance, saying that life with Edvard, is lovely, and that he treats the children well. And then she brings out the waterworks too. So
yeah.
The brothers are kind of confused, but I don't think they're convinced.
Teeters on overacting award.
Interesting, though, that she makes eye contact with Edvard and not the brothers for most of the time because she's just trying to
please him and do everything.
Get him to concede.
And then we go back to Isaac's house.
And this is where the editing starts to get great. Almost Oppenheimer-like, where you're cutting in between the...
Yeah, sure. What else is like that? I mean, obviously, Oliver Stone, JFK.
Memento.
Yeah, sure. JFK laid the groundwork for Oppenheimer, but I guess you could say this laid the groundwork for JFK.
I haven't seen JFK.
I don't know if Oliver Stone watched this. He probably did.
Yeah.
JFK's great. You should watch it. The cast is like stacked.
Noted. Yeah. And then after that,
so yeah, Alexander wakes up in the middle of the night. He has to pee.
Oh yeah.
And he sees Oscar. And he's basically saying, I don't know why you keep coming to me. You should just stay in heaven. And we get some great lines about Alexander's asked him, have you seen God? And
we don't get an answer.
No. But he's saying you must be gentle with people,
which is fantastic because Alexander's he's got a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah, and Alexander is at this point he has basically said this. He's like, I want God to die because every experience he has had with God, religious experience, has been awful. Which we see a lot of that. The quote unquote church hurt. Which I kind of hate, but...
What is that?
You haven't heard that? Like, church hurt?
No.
Like, that's, like, the term for, like, if, like, religious people have, like, hurt you or you've been put off by church and stuff. Like a church not accepting you and religious abuse. Church hurt. Which is,
that's one way to put it. I don't really mind it.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's whatever. And then we get this very important scene where Emily's drinking hot broth, and she gives it to Edvard, and she has a little box.
She knows she knows him so well that he can't help himself. He's worried. I thought that I wasn't sure if she was drinking something that would be damaging to the baby. And so he can't help himself.
Yep.
I think he was worried that she would do something to try to destroy herself or
which
make
she
her
was.
sick.
We learn later.
Yeah.
I mean, she says that she was going to drink that. Mm-hmm. So later we learn that she.
So he drinks it because he can't. He's so controlling and like he needs. He's a micromanager and he's so imposing, and so he drinks the drink because he is paranoid that Emily put something in it that shouldn't be in there, and then he starts to feel the effects.
Yeah, and now we're cross-cutting between Edvard's house and Isaac's house where Alexander is, and
then we get a pretty weird sequence.
Parallels. Mm-hmm. We get the discussion later on where they talk about like voodoo dolls and stuff, and can you do things to impact others? This is kind of what this is. It's almost like one person doing something is impacting another person that's in a totally different area. And I think that's really interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, here's the mask thing.
You always want to say you were changing masks. And Edvard, this is the first time that he really lets his mask down. He tears up and kind of loses composure, and
we don't see that very much.
I always thought that people liked me, so I always thought I was a likable guy.
You kind of feel for him a little bit.
I don't.
It's very hard to, but I think with the mask thing, he's
so caught up in his outward perception.
And, he's also acknowledging like. Maybe that this like religious strictness has not been for the good of people.
No.
And at least he's acknowledging that. He's not really apologizing for it or fixing anything.
No.
Which still puts him in the wrong, but at least I think you get a smidgen of like
the framing here is brilliant too. You pointed that out.
Very Persona.
They're both sort of gazing out.
He loves
into the window.
The two faces in the frame, man.
Like framed in parallel. Like
May December.
Yeah.
There's the mirror shot that directly calls back to Persona.
Yeah, but it's not the Persona shot at all. This isn't.
No. I know. I'm just saying, like, when I see two faces, I think of Bergman, and then I think of Persona, and then I think
the interesting line here, though, is that Edvard says, "I didn't think anybody could hate me," and Emily's like, "I don't hate you." She does hate him, but she says, "I don't hate you," and then
does she though?
Oh, she does. She hates him. Because he abused the children. Yeah. Okay. I mean, yeah, she hates him.
Because in that scene, it actually seems like she kind of doesn't.
And she also does mourn.
She also does mourn for a while.
She wears
not
black.
Like the next day. She's
black.
Like, woo!
She wears black, man. She wears black.
I mean, she's definitely happy and stuff.
But Edvard said, "I didn't think anybody could hate me." Emily says, "I don't hate you," and then he says, "Yes, but Alexander does."
But your son does.
He cannot get over the fact that Alexander doesn't accept him, or I feel like he needs everybody to like him.
Yeah, absolutely. He's constantly.
But he also needs everybody to.
He needs respect
surrender
as
to
well,
his to his vision and like what he
needs
wants.
Dominance.
In control. Yeah.
I mean, heck, he's about a dictator.
Pretty much, yeah. He's very authoritarian.
Absolutely, yeah. And then we get this weird stuff with Aaron, the brother.
Yeah, the puppeteer and the god puppet that we talked about.
And then his brother Ishmael, which
it's weird.
Starts getting very psychological, I guess. I don't really know how to put this.
A little formalistic.
Yeah, very, I would say. I mean, we see
inanimate stuff starts moving, and there's a sarcophagus with a mummy that's like breathing.
And there's so much inanimate objects moving.
Yeah,
in all the parts. That's one of the things that ties the whole thing together. And there's a lot of talk about imagination and Alexander's imagination, but at times we're like, is this really imagination or is this happening?
But it also is like a magic house.
Yes. and the dead body that moves is
part of the act.
Well, it's a match cut to Edvard's aunt.
Yeah, which is pretty
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole like ensemble of items in that backroom area are made for either like puppeteering or magic acts, and so the inanimate stuff that you would usually associate or like pin to ghosts or the supernatural. Isaac said it himself, or is it Aaron that says like the supernatural, like we control the explainable, the audience.
Yeah, that was Aaron.
Yeah, the unexplainable, which kind of juxtaposes what people usually like associate with magicians. But if you think about that in the form of religion, that like all the answers are right there, and that like you think it's some higher power that's controlling things when really it's just like made by people.
Yeah. And he's like, I am an atheist. He just says that.
Yeah.
It's like Bergman's not mincing any words. It's like, this is not gonna be subtext. I'm just gonna say it. And then we learn that Emily has put
like sleeping pills.
Yeah, Edvard has had a combined total of like 6 or 7 sleeping pills, and
he's off the juice.
He's going to be sleeping for a while.
Yeah.
And Emily's going to escape.
I mean, by the way, I just want to say Edvard's performance. He's so good. He's
and
incredible.
The whole thing, dude.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, every
person in this is.
There's not a bad actor to be found in this.
And of course, Sven's cinematography. You know, as we talked about in the Sacrifice episode, you know, he's amazing.
And then this really strange scene with Ishmael.
Yeah, they kiss. I forgot about that.
Yeah, dude.
The siblings kiss on the lips.
It's kind of weird.
I would say that's more than kind of weird.
Yeah, and then Ishmael's like, "Let's make a voodoo doll." Or, well, he doesn't like say that, but he's like, "You're familiar with the voodoo dolls, right?" And then.
Well, he's also saying that like we're the same person because he says, "Alexander, write your name," and then he writes Ishmael's name.
Yeah,
and he says we're the same person with no boundaries. Maybe that's Alexander grown up.
I don't know. Maybe.
It's very interesting stuff. And then Ishmael starts slowly
describing, like he reads Alexander's mind, and he's like, "I know what you're thinking of.
You want
a man to die,
certain person, which is Edvard."
And then he describes the physical characteristics, and then Ishmael's like, "Correct me if I'm wrong." Alexander doesn't.
And it cross cuts to Edvard dying because
his death. Yeah,
because the aunt or sister, whoever that is, the old weird lady. Knocks over a lamp and starts a fire, and then Alexander is getting unclothed. And
then he says, "Give me your answer. The doors will be thrown open." Ooh, I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, it's calling back to the Edvard situation, but
is he being abused right here?
I don't know. Yeah, he's just.
I don't know.
Ishmael is describing exactly what's happening, and
it's pretty.
Edvard dies.
It's the most far out thing in the film. It's like, what is going on, and you don't know, what exactly to think.
And then at this point,
yeah. So Edvard has perished. He dies in the house fire.
They go back to the theater. They have a family. I mean,
balance is restored.
Guston, it gives 15
is it
minutes.
Gustav or Guston?
I think it's Guston.
Oh, we'll have to go back and edit that in. I'll be like, on, like 7 times. On, here. Can you edit this for me? I'll just say on, and then you can like take that and paste it.
It is Gustav.
Okay. Can you
go back and
I said Guston a few times, so here's Av. If you could just splice that in. Av, Gustav, Av.
I will not be editing this.
No, you could do it on the drive over to LA.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You'll have plenty of time.
Pro Tools on the phone mount.
Yeah. Dude, they need Pro Tools Mobile. The iOS Pro Tools.
You know what I need? I need Pro Tools on my Apple Watch. Have you seen that? The
Google Glass with Pro Tools.
Have you seen the Premiere Pro on Apple Watch? Like the guy
is that real?
Like, well,
I mean, it was probably that sounds like a Michael Reeves thing where he would.
he's like jailbreaking stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And he's like doing Premiere Pro on like screens at football stadiums and Apple Watches.
That's so funny. We need to get How would you switch it between the mix window and the edit window? Like a double tap on a phone. We need to get Pro Tools Mobile. Yeah, actually, we need to stop talking about that so you can just go to Avid tomorrow and then be like, hey.
Hey, Avid, if you're listening, I'm not going to mince my words. You know Avid would shut that down because they're an awful company.
Yeah.
And I hate Avid.
Avid.
You suck.
Yeah. You can kick some rocks.
Now, you know what a good company is? Sweetwater. We love you, Sweetwater.
Eat my shorts, Avid. I love you, Sweetwater.
Anyway, so...
The epilogue.
Yeah, they're having a dinner. Everything's fine. Emily had her baby. Gustav...
had a baby with
Maj.
mistress, Maj.
Maj?
I don't know. He says Maj. It's Mad. I mean, we say Madge, but...
But basically... we just get this ending. Nothing really of importance.
Gustav has a fantastic monologue. It's very pretty. It's like pretty Shakespearean and like the way that it's very comedic and the way he gives a speech and then he sits down and gets back up and he gives another speech and then he's like, all right, now I'm gonna make a speech. The rest of it was preamble, but the actual speech part is like very heartfelt and it's very beautiful. And he talks about the little joys in life, like a smile or good food or just enjoying company. And he's like, sometimes disaster will strike, and it'll be really awful. But, I don't know what he says, but it's something probably close to what they say in Fury 7. It's about family.
Yeah, no, it is. And then he picks up his daughter, and he's like, you're going to, take over the world.
Now, the Linklater curation for Fanny and Alexander is the first 6 Fast and Furious movies.
Linklater.
Fanny and Alexander, Fury 7 through 10.
Or are you just saying that because Linklater curates a lot of stuff? Okay, yeah. I was like, where is this going?
No.
I thought you were going to bring Dazed and Confused into this.
I guess, you could slap Dazed and Confused at the end. So after you watch all the Fast and Furious movies and Fanny and Alexander.
Yeah, and then he's like, let me get my own stuff.
Yeah, self-plug. I mean, since you...
Self-plug.
Yeah.
Shameless plug. But no.
Hey, shameless plug, go follow me on us on Instagram.
Ego.
Yeah.
He goes, follow me on Instagram.
I need your affirmation. Bro
is Edvard.
Edvard is literally me. Me with the podcast stats. I thought everybody liked me.
Edvard in 2024, follow me.
I didn't think,
And he's not going to follow you back because he wants that amazing ratio.
Do not give Edvard a social media platform. That man's going to be...
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's too much power.
I want to talk about probably... one of my favorite parts of this and the part that I think about the most.
We're at 6% battery, so just keep that in mind.
Is this on your Mac?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll go through this fast. Because this is,
no, it's cool. Take your time. I think we've got about 12 minutes, though.
Okay, that's plenty. So we cut to Alexander. This is basically at the end. And, we missed it.
He's got some, sick loafers. He's wearing an entirely white, nightie that goes to his mid leg, but he's got these red loafers on with no with no socks.
And he's eating some cookies.
Yeah,
and he's walking through the hallway.
He's living large.
And
Alexander's just a little scoundrel, man.
I don't want to mistake this. Did I miss this? It's definitely after all this. Sorry, guys. We're scanning.
Oh, yeah. And you sort of... I do want to talk about this really quick. That
we're scanning through the...
Gustav gives, the very heartfelt and long-winded speech. And then you find out that Maj and her friend want to move to... Stockholm. And she's like, I don't... there's an opportunity that came up.
Gustav won't let me go.
Yeah, he promised me a cafe when I was younger. And he's, going to hold me to that. And I can't go. He's like, but I'm going to leave, and I don't know what to do. And so you kind of see that, even though this family's, very beautiful and they have such a good relationship, there's still a lot of, kind of, unethical and just not good stuff that goes on. So I don't know. There's a layer of, reality and relatability to like the family dynamic that even like at the best parts, it's still not perfect. You know what I mean? There's still like weird stuff going on.
There's always family troubles.
Yeah. Oh,
and
for
you
sure,
love them, but
yeah.
and he gets that right. He just nails it.
Yeah, because we don't just end at the epilogue, because there's like a big family picture, kind of like The Shining, and you're like, oh, cool, it's the end. It's not the end. It's not the end.
Yeah.
And then I think the Edvard stuff is after that, right? Or like with Maj.
Yes.
So
not Edvard.
So we
Gustav.
Sorry,
I was confused. I was like, oh.
But yeah, we sort of come back down to earth.
Yeah.
After the picture.
So what I want to talk about is, it's just an amazing sequence. It's not really a sequence; it's just like 10 seconds. But Alexander's eating a cookie, and we see a figure come in, and he's wearing what Edvard wears, and And he takes Alexander by the shoulder and pushes him down.
He drops the cookies.
Zooms in to
on
the cross.
Yeah.
And we see that it's the ghost of Gustav, basically. Or Edvard, I mean.
Yeah.
And he says, "You can't escape me." And, I mean, there it is. That's Bergman's life.
Yeah.
And it's just heartbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think that says so much about trauma and,
yeah, it's just incredible.
Mm-hmm. Childhood psychologists are going to be like eating this up,
And I do want to say, I want to say two more things. One thing is, the very end, Emily gives the grandmother a play by August Strindberg, and it's called A Dream Play. Mm-hmm. And she reads a little bit from it at the very end. It's the last thing we hear and stuff. But apparently it's he was a Swedish playwright, and apparently it's about hypocrisy and Jesus and God. And
yeah.
A dream play begins as
stuff,
Agnes, the daughter of Indra, descends to earth in the form of a beautiful woman to find the roots of humanity's discontent with their existence. Her journey is intended to reflect the story of Jesus as she experiences the pain of being human. And, there's a lot more to that, but I think that that's a great way to end it. But yeah, I wanted to say, like, this is very autobiographical, and I think that Bergman has struggled with his,
view of organized religion.
Yes.
Yeah. It's hard to...
I think it's... I don't think it's as simple as Bergman is an atheist and he hates all of it.
It's hard to reconcile with that when you have an experience that negative when you're that young.
Absolutely.
It's hard to go back.
And
and the damage might be irreparable.
And I cannot blame him for that. Absolutely not.
No.
But I just want to say, like, I've seen about 10 of his films, and the one thing I love about him is he's not Tarkovsky, but he's not... Godard or someone that's like extremely atheist or anything.
There's an element of faith in a lot of his movies.
He's just always toying with it, and he always finds, one moment you're like, he's definitely like religious and he believes, and then there's one moment where he's like, he's definitely an atheist.
Yeah,
and he's always in the in between. He's always playing with it, and I think that's really interesting. It's easy to watch someone
who's one way or the other.
That's just like.
Yeah. This is what I believe. Yeah.
But it's almost more fun to see someone exploring his relationship with religion through his films. Yeah, it's incredible.
I agree.
But yeah, that's about all I got.
Yeah, that's Fanny and Alexander.
Behemoth.
We kind of took a chronological approach to this one. Usually don't do that. We kind of hop around, but
so is this? You said that this is it is number one, or it's close, or it might not be, or. I mean, I know we just finished. Yeah.
Man, Autumn Sonata.
I know you do like Autumn Sonata.
Autumn Sonata is so good,
and I know that you do love Persona.
Persona's great. I think I prefer Autumn Sonata.
Okay. I prefer Autumn Sonata.
If I watch Persona again, I don't know.
I think that I might. There's parts of Winter Light that make it.
Winter Light's awesome.
That's so good. It's like really good.
This was probably his best work.
I do. Yeah. I mean,
I don't know that whole scene with like the marionette things, I thought was a little strange.
Yeah, sure.
And like that, especially the stuff with Ishmael, it was weird.
Yep.
I don't know how I feel about it.
Sure. Yeah.
And that's definitely...
It's really about the formulas he's gotten.
Definitely my least favorite segment of the film, like in totality, which kind of hurts it because it's so close to the end. because everything else was like I didn't have any problems with.
I think it really sticks the landing.
That was kind of weird. Yeah, the ending of it is great.
The ending of it is weird.
Yeah,
I think the fourth part, the last hour of the film, gets very avant-garde.
Yeah,
it's a little weird. But I think there's.
It's saying a lot though. Yeah, it's not just for any reason.
I mean, of course, it's Bergman. Well, we did it.
Yeah, we did.
We finally finished it. We can log it on Letterboxd, guys.
Oh, no, that's the important thing.
That's going to get my hours up for the year, It's like 5 hours. That's what we want, guys.
Yeah, that's the important thing. It's about the Letterboxd stats and the appearance on social media. That's what I want you to take away.
Oh, goodness.
Just ask, what would Edvard do,
Do not do that, guys.
WWED.
He's being sarcastic. Make the bracelets.
Yeah.
All right.
He probably would want to make it. I mean, it's.
Yeah, he would.
Okay. Right. Any closing thoughts? Anything else?
No, I just think that this is.
I think I'm ready to wrap.
It's a top 5 film, and it's funny that we did this right after Sacrifice because The Sacrifice is number 4 in my all-time, and this is number 5. And I think this is an all-timer.
Yeah.
I think it's.
I agree that The Sacrifice is probably better.
I don't want to say that this is. I said earlier it's easily his best work.
Yeah.
That might be coming on a
2%.
little strong. I have no reservations saying it's number 1. I think it's his magnum opus.
Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So that's all I got.
Go watch Fanny and Alexander.
It's on Criterion channel.
Yep.
Get that.
Cool. And with that, let's roll that outro music.
There we go.